all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we have started our open session. Do a board roll call. Let the record show that all members are accounted for, with the inclusion of our two members who are on Zoom, which is Trustee Boyd and Trustee DeLuce, and everyone else is in our boardroom. Item 3B, there was no action taken in closed session, so we can move along. To item 3C, adoption of the agenda. There are no addendums, so I'll entertain a motion to adopt the agenda.
Second.
It's been moved and second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 4, communications. Public comment. I'm going to read this even though our public comment section has changed and we're doing this digitally, but I'll still read the statement because I like to be very official here. So, individuals wishing to address the board on any non-agenda item which are of interest to the public and within the board's jurisdiction may do so during this time. The board may not act upon items presented during public comment, but may briefly respond to statements made, ask a clarifying question, or refer speakers to district staff or other resources. Please enter your comments in the comments section in the YouTube live stream. And I'm not going to read the address there because you should probably already have that and it's pretty long. We will provide your comment to the board during the public comment portion of the agenda, and it will be entered into the meeting minutes. And we have our colleague Shari, who is paying close attention to our YouTube feed to make sure that there are no comments or requests. So we'll go ahead and give it a minute to see. Okay, looks like there is none, so we will move on to item 4B, reports. Robla Education Foundation. I didn't receive any emails or notification, so I don't think we have any.
I do not.
Okay. Moving along, CSEA. No. RTA. Superintendent.
Thank you. I'd like to begin tonight by talking about our distance learning program. As you know, we are now delivering our instruction via the Robla School District Distance Learning Program, and I'd like to very much acknowledge our teachers who have really worked very hard to come up with a whole way of providing instruction to their students. That happens on a daily basis at all grade levels, including preschool, and we are excited and we are learning lots every day. Well, of course, an essential part of this program is making sure our students have devices. And Adam Vivier, our Director of IT, has been great about keeping me up to date about what those numbers are. I'd like to share some of them. At this point, we have now distributed 1,385 devices to our families. Mostly, those are Chromebooks. 1,238 Chromebooks have gone out to TK through grade 6, and then we have distributed 103 iPads to our preschool families. At this point, we have only distributed about 44 hotspots, so it appears that most of our families did have access to the internet, but of course, we do have a number of those that are still available if families do need them. We are working very hard now on what we call our student find system. And our student find system allows us to make sure that we are looking for those students who are not engaged in our distance learning program and not simply accepting that, but kind of have a set process now for a teacher making those attempts the teacher is unsuccessful now, we have spelled out the steps that the teacher will take to get other people involved in helping families to get connected to our distance learning program. That might involve their principal, the social worker, other people on staff to make those connections, our community outreach assistants. And of course, if it turns out that it's just as simple as a device or a hotspot that the family needs, then we can work to get those to families. We've even have had situations where the family did not have transportation, and I have to say, as is so very much the Robla way, we found a staff member who actually was willing to deliver those directly to the family's doorstep. So we do whatever it takes to make sure people are connected. The other aspect of our work that's taking place during school closure, of course, is our Meals on Wheels program. And I don't have really specific numbers, but we are very close to serving 20,000 meals a week. We continue to do that, which is more than actually we serve during the regular school year. The numbers go up and down a little bit, Kathy was sharing with me, but it's always above 19,500. It's very close to 20,000. I don't think we've actually hit 20,000 on any day, but I know we are very close. I did also want to say that we are in conversations around a summer meals program. We have a scheduled meeting coming up to talk about how we will work to define what summer meals will look like in the Robles School District and how that food will be available to our families as well. Also, in regards to the summer, we'll be moving forward with Freedom School in our collaboration with Mr. Darrell Roberts and the Roberts Family Development Center. We will serve 160 students this summer. That, of course, will be virtually. And we have agreed that each school will have a certain number of spots where they can target specific students who we think would benefit most from participating in the Freedom School program. We're all looking forward to the day when school reopens, and we don't have a lot of detail about what that will look like. We are still waiting for guidance from the state and from the county. But as I have shared in my daily updates to staff, the County Office of Education here in Sacramento County has put together a school reopening planning committee, and I am on that committee. I am the representative from the Robles School District, and we are working with all of the other school districts to plan a document that we can then distribute publicly to all of the school districts to give guidance that they can use then to work out the details of how school can open in their district. We do have the participation on this committee of the Sacramento County Public Health Office. Yesterday, for example, Dr. Kasiri was with us for quite some time, listening to the questions we have about things like, how many children can be in a classroom and still be safe? Do children need to wear gloves? Do staff need to wear gloves? Do children need to wear masks? Do staff need to wear masks? How do we feed children? How do we do recess? All of those kinds of things. How do we put all these children on buses and get them to school? So all of those questions that we need to have answered before we can move forward with our planning. They are very cooperative and are working with us to come to a place where we get that guidance from public health.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes, sir.
The committee is setting up the guidelines for the districts to open. So is the committee, are the districts going to have a unified kind of message that they've all come to agreement, or is it more of, like we're meeting the guidelines of what the committee said?
Yeah, I think there will be both items that we will all adhere to in terms of how we follow the rules. So I think there will be rules, for example, that, one example might be that we cannot open until the state lifts the shelter-in-place order, right? So that would be something that's hard and fast, that districts cannot decide to open before that. But there will be lots of places where the district can make its own decisions about how they want this to work. So as an example of that, I would say there may be some different options. If for example, the county health were to tell us that you shouldn't have, I'm making these numbers up, more than 15 children in a classroom with the square footage that we have in our classrooms, right? The county health will not mandate how you conduct school with only 15 children in a room. we will need to make our own decision about how that we will do that. Will we have half come in the morning and half come in the afternoon? Will we let families choose? And some children will stay on distance learning and other children will learn in the classroom. Will we have an alternate day model where some children will come to school on Mondays and Wednesdays and other children will come to school on Tuesdays and Thursdays? Those are the kinds of things that will be things that we get to work out from our end in terms of what we think is best for us. And of course, much of this will need to be negotiated with our employee associations, exactly how that will work. And of course, we'll want input from our community so that we are able to devise a plan that works specifically for Robla.
I think it would be nice for marketing to say that we're operating under the guidelines that were put together by the committee and that everyone has, I think that.
The county is very good, and as much as was the case when we closed the schools, all of the school districts work together, and when we ever put out an announcement, that was an announcement that came out from all of us together, actually with the cooperation of public health, so that when the news media received it, they knew that we had all worked together collaboratively, and that's what the process is going to be. So your point is a good one, Mr. Barnes, and I'm sure that that's exactly how we will move forward. I wish I had more information to share around the school budget. The governor did release his May revision today. It is not good news, of course. I don't have specific numbers yet. We are attending a session on Tuesday. That will be our CBO, Mr. Castillo, and then our two association presidents and myself will all participate online, of course, to learn more about how school services takes the governor's budget and gives us advice about how to implement it. So it will be interesting to learn exactly how the COVID situation will impact the state budget and then in turn affect the district's budget. I have faith that, the culture in Robla being collaborative, we will be able to work this out together. It will probably not be a pleasant task, but I'm confident that we will find a way to make sure that it is in the best interest of our children, as well as our families and our employees. I would also like to share that the Robla School District Office construction project is moving forward. The building that is generally my home, Building A, is now empty, and it will be demolished beginning next week. All of those of us who normally function in Building A have a new temporary home in either Building B or Building C. The construction of the new building will take approximately 6 months, and the new building, of course, because this building that we are currently in will be demolished as part of the Robla School construction project. The new district office building will house a new boardroom, which of course the board is well aware we not only use for board meetings, but for a great deal of other types of meetings in the district. And so it's a very necessary part of our functioning to have a larger space such as that. And that is my report.
Thank you. Moving along to board member reports, and we'll start with our digital colleagues, Trustee Deleuze.
Yes, so I received information also, once again, about the May, the May revise. It's gonna be really, really tight. I got this as a part of our CSBA delegate assembly stuff. Basically, a couple of things that we're gonna be looking at. We're actually gonna be looking at deferrals. So there's probably gonna be deferrals are gonna be coming. No COLA. Approximately $19 billion less, which is basically about a 23% cut on Prop 98. There's a number of different things that CSBA is working with the administration, and we're working on addressing some things, but as well as seeking additional federal funding, which we believe we have a very good chance of actually getting. Having said all of that, we're still probably going to be looking, districts in general on average, are going to be looking at somewhere between a 7 to 9% reduction in funding next year. So it's going to be tight. It's definitely going to be tight, according to at least according to the information given to us through CSBA. And that actually is really about it. That's honestly, COVID-19 is really about 90% of what we're discussing, and obviously school budgets and all of that are all the things that have been kind of the conversation with CSBA. This weekend, we're actually going to be holding delegate assembly. We're doing a Zoom meeting, and a lot of this we're going to get a lot more details about, as well as information about what CSBA is going to be advocating for in relation to the budget. So that's my report.
Thank you. Trustee Boyd.
I have nothing to report. I just want to thank again everybody what they're doing, going out in uncharted territories. I want to thank everybody.
Thank you. Trustee Howard.
Nothing to report.
Trustee Cardona.
Nothing to report.
And I have nothing to report as well. So we will move right along to item 5, public hearings. Item 5A, I'll read the description here and then open it. Collective bargaining agreement, Sunshine Classified School Employees Association proposal for 2019-20 to Robles School District. I will now open the hearings and receive comments from the public, staff, and board. Seeing that there is none, I'll entertain a motion to close the hearing.
Mr. Barnes, if I could just interject, maybe there's a little bit of lag on YouTube,
Oh.
so maybe if we could just give it a minute to make
Okay.
sure that if there's anybody out in the ether would like to comment, that they
We'll
have the
give it-
opportunity to do
okay.
that.
It's an excellent suggestion. We'll give it another minute or so.
Thank you.
So if it looks like we're saying nothing, we're actually paying attention. It takes a long time to pass. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So move. Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The public hearing is now closed. Hope I did that right. Moving on to, excuse me, item B, collective bargaining agreement, Sunshine Robles School District proposal for 2019-20 to Classified School Employees Association. I will now open the hearing and receive comments from the public, from public, staff, and board. So feel free to comment. Okay. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries. The public hearing is closed. Moving along to presentations. Item 6, presentations. Item 6A, bond program update.
Good evening, folks. Emilio Flores with CFW. A little bit of a different topic this evening. Instead of a facilities update, we're going to talk about the overall bond program that the district currently has outstanding, talk about some of the impacts that we anticipate coming forward given the current pandemic situation, and some of the state programs that we anticipate having some changes to as we move forward through this pandemic. Member DeLuce had mentioned that the May revise has come out. I think what's important to recognize right now is the state is attempting to roll in a lot of money from other sources or from unspent areas. For example, one of the programs that was being administered at the time prior to the pandemic's shelter-in-place order was the third round of full-day kindergarten facilities grant funding. It's about $300 million that the governor had set aside to fund the construction of Title V compliant classrooms for kindergarten programs. ROBLA had participated in the second round and had received a grant for the ROBLA Elementary reconstruction project. Those funds have been secured. Those funds are already sitting in the state's coffers, and those funds will not at this time be taken back to the state. So the good news on that side is that we participated in the program, a previous round, we received money, and we still anticipate receiving that money once we enter into construction. However, all future applications in that program have been suspended. So there were about another 60 or 70 school districts that were looking to apply in April, which will, at this point in time, will no longer have the opportunity for their facilities. So just wanted to compliment district staff and everybody else who's involved in helping us secure funding in the second round. Because of that, we're not sitting on the outside looking in. Now, the primary source of our facilities funding is the district's voter-approved general obligation bonds. There we go. And the district has 3 outstanding authorizations. Voters First approved general obligation bonds for use in the amount of $32 million back in 1992. It took us about 20 some odd years to retire this authorization, but we've issued bonds over time, and currently the bonds that the last series of bonds that was issued from 1992 are scheduled to be retired in 2037, and the current tax rate for that authorization and its outstanding bonds is about $75 per $100,000 of assessed valuation. In 2014, voters approved Measure K, which authorized sales of $29.8 million in general obligation bonds. That was subject to Prop 39, which means that the Measure K is subject to a maximum estimated tax rate of $30 per $100,000 assessed valuation. To date, we've issued about $16.5 million in Measure K bonds, and currently residents are paying $23.20 per $100,000 of assessed value on those bonds. In 2018, at the board's direction, we went for another 2/3 election, very similar to the 1992 authorization for $46.2 million. We've issued all those bonds, and currently those are being repaid at a tax rate of about $64.70 per $100,000. So if you do the quick math, we're somewhere close to about $160 per for $100,000 of assessed value combined. So that's 3 different series of bonds. Of the 3 authorizations that we have outstanding, only Measure K has a remaining authorization of approximately $13.3 million. So we've issued everything out of the 92, we've issued everything out of the 18, and we have about $13.3 million remaining in authorization for additional projects at the ROBLA School District. This is just a quick summary, and I'll make sure that the district has a copy of this as well. But it's a summary of all the bond issuances that have been done since 1992. Some of these have been refinanced, some of them have been retired. If you look at the 1992 authorization, we still have about $20 million of outstanding principal to be repaid between now and 2037. If you look at the Measure K bonds, the 2014 authorization, we have about $16.5 million in principal remaining to be repaid over time until 2045. And if you look at our 2018 authorization, we have about $46 million to be repaid over time to out to 2048. What drives our ability, or the district's ability, to issue bonds is its tax base. And this is a very important concept. As the tax base either contracts or expands, it has a direct relationship with the tax rates that are paid by the residents of the ROBLA School District. So if we grow at a fast pace, tax rates generally go down because the pie grows. If the tax base contracts, as in a recession, what happens is tax rates go up because we still have to pay back the bonds. And the key component of a general obligation bond is that there's a covenant with the bondholders that the county must levy the whatever necessary tax rate to repay those investors. And so depending on how that pie, the tax base, shrinks or expands, that determines how much money or what the tax rate has to be calculated out to pay back the investors. As you can see on the right-hand side, for the most part, we've had robust growth in the Robles School District. All but 2010, 11, 12, and 13, we have positive values in terms of growth. That means property values continue to grow, property values continue to be sustained. As you may recall, 2010, 11, and 12, we had sorry about the dog, 1 second. Just another dog that's walking by the window. But the tax base overall has been able to grow over time. What that's done is allowed us, A, to issue additional bonds, and then B, it's also allowed the district to manage its tax rates over time. Now, in portions or in periods of time where we have a recession.
Emilio,
Yes.
can you hear me?
Yes.
That your volume went way down.
Better?
No,
No, not yet.
How's that?
more.
1 second.
You turn it up a little bit more.
Well, the problem is I have to get closer. How's that?
It's a little better, but
It's
keep
better.
going.
Then we cannot hear the
Just,
vote. no more.
just elevate your voice level a little bit more.
I will do my best to elevate as high as I
Okay,
can.
Much better,
There
thank
you
you.
go.
Okay. So basically, on this one, the major thing to watch is going to be how the property values in the district increase and decrease over time. We've averaged about 4.9% of growth over the last 5 years. We've averaged about 2.5% over 10 years, and we've averaged about 6.1% over the last 21 years. And so overall, we've had good growth in the district. Under state law, there is a statutory amount of debt that the state believes is appropriate for a school district to have outstanding. And that's roughly equated to, for a non-unified school district, of about 1.25% of the total assessed valuation or your tax base. However, the state does allow the district to exceed this amount with what they call a bond debt waiver. This waiver was sought by the district back in 2018 when we looked to issue the additional bonds from the 2018 authorization. And we currently have a state-approved bond waiver at 3.27%. So we're beyond the statutory amount, but at the same time, we actually have additional capacity today to issue additional bonds if we chose to do so. Just like everybody else is trying to watch the financial markets and budgets and property tax collections and so forth, the COVID-19 pandemic has had an effect on the capital markets, the ability for municipalities, school districts to borrow money. The board may recall that we've seen this in the past, where we are in terms of historical interest rates. I think every time we come to you, we tell you, hey, we're near historical lows. Trustee Boyd will remember when interest rates, for mortgages were probably in the double digits. Today we're very fortunate that most homeowners today haven't had to experience double digits mortgage rates. Very similar in the capital markets. We have our own index. And as you can see on the left-hand chart, interest rates have remained relatively steady. It's been varied, and there's been somewhat of a downward trend over the last few years. Now, to show you the effect of COVID-19 on the bond market as a whole, if you look to the chart on the right, you can see that we start off the year, around 2.25%. And you can see in the beginning of March, we start declining in interest rates. And the reason why we did that was because people were starting to realize that there was going to be an economic slowdown. And whenever people believe that there is economic uncertainty, they like to buy city and government bonds because the risk that the borrower will default is very minimal. Now, what you'll see is there's this huge spike in the end of March and the beginning of April. That is when we went into the shelter in place here in California. That is when people started talking about shelter in place in general. You would have expected that the market would have gone further down. Instead, it increased. And the reason for that is because investors believed that they had hit the bottom and that they could go no lower. And the cost of carrying bonds and other things basically dried up. And so we had that initial spike. Since then, we've leveled out and we're kind of back to where we were when the year began. And so overall, with the exception of late March, early April, the ability to issue bonds, the ability to find investors to buy bonds has been restored back to its normal marketplace. What's this mean in terms of the district's ability to issue bonds going forward? There are two major factors that we look at when we want to issue additional bonds. A is interest rates, which I just said are relatively low, and the cost of borrowing remains low. The second thing is the tax base and the tax rate. As I mentioned in the first overview slide, Measure K is the only authorization that is limited by a maximum estimated tax rate. Under Prop 39, the district cannot issue additional bonds if it believes that the tax rate or has a reasonable expectation that the tax rate will exceed the $30 limit. Today we're at $22, and into the future we're projecting out that we would have a similar tax rate going forward. That could change based on how the tax base either expands or contracts. The 2014 authorization is also the only authorization where we have remaining authorization to issue that $13.3 million. If the district were to issue bonds today, they could issue up to about $7 million in additional bonds to fund the design for phase 2 projects from the implementation plan if it wanted to. There's nothing that precludes it from doing it today. There's nothing that precludes it doing it 6 months from now. There's nothing that precludes it from doing it down the line. Okay? The structure that would be utilized, there's two ways to do it. There's enough headroom or tax rate capacity today to issue about $5 million in what we call current interest bonds. That means that there are semi-annual interest payments being paid to investors to repay the loan. Okay? It's a pay-as-you-go type of model. There's another instrument that's been used in the past by the district. It's been used by other districts. It's called a capital appreciation bond. And what a capital appreciation bond does is that it says, if there are no revenues available today to make those interest payments, we will defer the payment to a future date. And during the time in which that payment is deferred, we are going to accrue interest against that loan. Okay? Typically, it's a much more expensive way of borrowing money because you're deferring interest. Okay? And you're accruing interest costs. But because rates are so low today, the difference between borrowing on a current interest basis and a deferred basis is about half a percentage point in interest rate. So for instance, if the average interest rate for a current interest bond was 2%, a capital appreciation bond would cost you 2.5% for borrowing. Just to give you an idea what that looks like overall, you can see right now how we're projecting out the existing tax rate. So the blue bars are your projected existing tax rate for Measure K only. And functionally what happens is that whenever the district decides to issue additional series of bonds, we would go back in and we'd fill the gap between the blue bars and that orange line up top. That's the $30 tax rate. And that's how the stream of funds are collected in order to repay those bonds. Once again, just as a refresher for the board and for everybody else, if the district had a desire or a need to issue additional bonds, it's about a 90-day process. It requires board authorization to issue a resolution. The staff would then have to go back to the rating agencies, just like you have a personal credit rating, the district has a credit rating. It basically evaluates the district's ability to repay the loan. In Sacramento County, the county serves as what's called a paying agent, the person who actually collects the money and then distributes it out to the investors. And the board of supervisors would have to adopt a resolution to take that underway. We would have to prepare and distribute a preliminary official statement. That would be a prospectus or a selling guide, if you will, to investors so that they are able to evaluate their interest in buying those bonds. And then finally, after that process is done, the district would price the transaction and we lock in interest rates and we would receive additional funds. A lot of information, folks, and happy to answer any questions you may have. I think the key takeaway right now and the key considerations for the board is that we're in a situation right now where we have an extremely low cost of borrowing. And the offsetting factor to that is that we don't know what the tax base is going to do. The good news about the timing of the pandemic is that most of the county assessors' values are going to be based on January 1st assessments. That means that any turmoil that occurred during the last couple of months is not going to show up on the property tax rolls for fiscal year 2020, 2021. If for any reason we have a significant decline in property values during 2020 and to 2021, that's not going to impact taxpayers until 21, 22. The other thing that's very interesting about this particular pandemic and its effect on property values is that your district, because of the large lots, because of the general affordability, are actually attractive to outside buyers. So the person who may be living in the South Park in Sacramento, the person who may be living, in the Bay Area, maybe looking for a little more space. What we're seeing right now in real estate market is that prices are not falling yet. And people are actually looking for spaces that are a little more or less dense, if you will, to move to. You're not going to see an immediate drop in property values, which gives us time. It gives time for the economy to recover. It gives us time to evaluate options. But if for some reason we go into a prolonged economic downturn, which may be the case, it's only probably about 18 to 24 months out that we will see start seeing declines in the growth of assessed valuation and its effect on the tax rate for the residents of Robla. So a couple things we're looking out for is A, what's going to happen on July 1st when property values are released, and then secondarily, what the effect will have on our ability to go forward. The reason why I brought this to you folks is A, to give you a refresher of where we're at, what types of pots of money are available to us beyond the state, because we know already that the state's looking at ways of removing money from programs for school facilities. We've seen that. The good news is that most of the money that we've chased in the last couple of years is either voter approved in terms of bonds. It's either been funded through the existing Prop 51 school facilities program, or it's specialty programs that we've already gotten money from. But beyond that, the hope of having a preschool facilities program funded by the general fund of the state, that's gone. The hope of having specialty programs related to kindergarten facilities, that's gone. Funding for CTE, which I realize does not affect you as an elementary district, but that's gone. And so moving forward, there's going to be a heavier reliance on moving projects forward with the funds on hand and these types of authorizations than would have been previous to this pandemic. With that, I'm more than happy to take any questions you may have regarding where we're at, what we're doing. As I mentioned at the last meeting, we currently do have the funds on hand to construct Robla Elementary. We do have the funds on hand to construct the improvements at Bell Avenue. We do have the funds on hand to construct the project at Glenwood in terms of the phase one. What we do not have money on hands for at the moment is that second phase of projects, which would be the NPR at Taylor. It would be the media center at Main Avenue. And we've talked about possibly either a cafeteria or some type of replacement for the NPR at Bell Avenue as well. And those projects are slated to be funded from reimbursements from the state. We still anticipate to get those reimbursements. It's now just a matter of time, whether it's going to be 3 years from now, 4 years from now, or beyond that, we don't know. But if in the event that the district wanted to move forward with this project, this is a viable option that's available to you as well.
I've got a question.
Yes, sir.
So, the property values go down.
Mhm.
So, the interest rate goes up to maintain paying back that bond on the homeowner. Is that what it is, or do we draw in less for
Good question,
declining
sir.
property value?
Good question, sir. I apologize if I wasn't clear. The interest rate itself is locked. So what we agreed to on day one for interest rate, it's not a variable rate. It just stays the same. So if it was 3%, it'll remain 3%.
Okay.
What happens is it's a proportional tax based on property values. So, for example, if Mr. DeLuce had a house worth $500,000 and you had one that was worth $100,000, he'd be paying five times as many dollars in taxes than you would. Okay, if you guys were the whole
Okay,
pie.
Right. Right.
Okay. Now, what happens is, okay, let's say, for example, that Trustee Barnes, President Barnes, moves in, he buys a house, and now you have, he has a $400,000 house, okay? The
Alright.
pie grows from $600,000 to $1 million, okay?
Right.
And instead of Trustee DeLuce having 5/6 of the pie, right? He now has 5/10, 1/2 of the pie.
Okay.
So as the pie grows, his share of that burden shrinks, okay? And so likewise, if the tax base as a whole shrinks, what happens is that your share increases. So as your share increases, your tax rate would increase to repay that debt.
Basically, that's what I was asking. Yeah. Okay. You answered it. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
tax base
Right.
grows, tax rate goes down.
Right.
Tax base shrinks, tax rate goes up.
And that bond rate looks like it just follows the exact opposite of the stock market, right?
So in a perfect world, okay, there is you're absolutely correct. The bond market acts opposite of the stock market. So when stocks are doing very well, right, the cost of borrowing goes up. When the stock market goes down, cost of borrowing decreases. And they actually kind of move in different directions. So for instance, if you were to map this against the stock market, what you'd see is in late March, early April, right? That's when the stock market dove, right? So yes, there's an inverse relationship.
Yeah. Okay.
Any other questions?
Did we lose Trustee Boyd?
No, that's it. I'm sorry. I'm finished.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Okay, thank you very much, Emilio.
Thank you.
Okay. Moving along to item 6B, preschool update with Director Christy Earhart.
Okay, give me a second while I get my technology under control. Let's see. All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
So welcome, everyone. It's great. Good evening, everyone. It's my pleasure tonight to present the preschool's annual report to the school board. And in front of you, the tree and the children and the plants there are part of our new logo, and you will see it on all of our marketing materials and our newsletters, etc. Learn, play, grow, and discover is what we stand for at the preschool. As you can see, as in years past, our funding remains funding. Our QRIS money, which is our quality rating money, is an award that we receive based on the quality of our programming. And again, we have been ranked a 5 in that system. So we are expecting the same type of funding from the county through their grant that they have going forward. At least that's what the consultant told me last week, although things change. First 5 is our funding that we receive for our PlayPal program, and we are moving into our final year of allotment next year, and I will be writing a grant, a competitive grant, to apply for first 5 funding again moving forward in the next funding cycle. We have continue to have private pay, which is an option
Christy?
for families that are above the income qualifications for our state-funded preschool.
We had the wrong,
What was that?
we had Robla.
We don't have the right presentation.
They uploaded the wrong slide deck for this presentation.
Oh, on the,
It's okay.
I see.
Yeah, we just follow her.
Sorry, Christy,
Yeah.
what we have in the agenda is different from the presentation that you're showing. So, sorry, that's what we were talking about.
It should not be, because I sent
No, no,
this. I'm not
it's not.
sure.
It's not,
But
it's,
we'll
Oh.
make sure it's rooted.
Don't worry
we
about
can
it.
see, we can see your slides, so go ahead.
Okay, all right. All right, so private pay is that group of children that is, families that are above the income requirements for our state-funded preschool, and it's really an option for employees in our district, teachers, bring their children to us and they participate in our program. We continue to have a robust donations program at preschool with outside friends of preschool that like to write us checks sometimes. And then we have this new source of money, the James B. McClatchy Foundation, which was formerly the Central Valley Foundation. And they're a pretty large contributor this year to our school and the activities that we've been doing. I have written recently to continue the funding and the partnership with these really nice and generous people for the next 2 years, and I'm waiting to receive my funding letter back from them so that we can move forward for the next 2 years and hopefully 2 more years after that. Staffing has pretty much remained the same at preschool as it has been in previous years. We did have a few little staffing changes with 2 new teachers to our staff, but the numbers have still been the same. You will notice at the bottom of this slide that we have now our own BCOA at preschool who does community outreach, and she is funded through that grant that I was talking about. Our preschool demographics, again, have kind of remained the same. You'll notice that there's 37% of our children are English learners. This is a decrease of 15% from last year. But please note that this information is gathered through a parent report. They fill out a form. There's no formal testing or anything to determine whether the children are English learners or not. It's just parent reporting. So reasons for the decrease are really not concrete, and we can only make educated guesses about why that might be. It might be the change in our community, it might be political, there might be many contributors to that decrease. So you will see in this presentation that we do a large focus still on EL learners in our school, but there has been a slight decrease. Preschool continues to function pretty much the same. Our 7 classrooms with double sessions, 1 teacher and 2 instructional assistants. We have a morning DLI classroom, and you will notice that under that there is 3 inclusion classrooms in the morning only, and those Our classrooms that work in conjunction with our SDC program and the teachers that are in those 3 classrooms are, they participate with myself and the SDC teacher in training through SPOE, approximately 45 hours of training this year about inclusion and why it's a best practice. And so we've piloted it this last year, and my intention is to continue with it moving forward into the future. We continue to have 2 full-day classes for childcare. We're continuing to do our developmentally appropriate instruction. We are play-based, inquiry-based. Something new this year through our grant has been to implement GLAD strategies, and I will talk about those a little later. We're currently serving 309 children ages 3 to 5. And of those 309, 170 of them will, so a large number are leaving our school and going out into TK and kindergarten. Play Pals, which is one of my favorite programs, is still being taught by Miss Lisa and her instructional assistant. The funding for that program is provided by First Five. Its attendance is on a drop-in basis, and it's continued exactly the same way as it has been in the past. This year, there are 65 families that are participating and being served in this program in that drop-in schedule when families can come in. They've been able to manage not overloading the classroom on their own. So that's been a blessing. Our student supports remain the same. We use our developmental screenings to kind of gauge where children need support. Those are provided to all of our families, and they are filled out by parents. And we use that as an initial way to see if children need intervention, maybe a speech screening, et cetera. Our DRDPs are our report card, and they're developmentally appropriate. And then we also provide health screenings, dental, hearing, and vision with the support of outside vendors and our school nurse, Miss Judy. Parent engagement. We have parent orientation that I provide to all families that enter preschool, 2 days of training. We have Parent Collaborative, which is our parent advisory group that meets monthly. This is Second Cup of Coffee is a new thing this year. It's run by our BCOA, Miss Jeanette, and it's a much less formal event. It's driven by parent interest. They generate an agenda. Miss Jeanette searches out resources in the community or surrounding areas and provides it to parents in this, and we provide donuts and coffee on minimum day Fridays to those families that wish to participate with us. I do not attend the meetings unless I'm asked to attend. It's more of a free time for parents to get to know each other and develop relationships with, our BCOA and others at the school. Robla Reads is our literacy program. We're reading. We had Car Seat 50 class in conjunction with Mercy San Juan as a partner. Our library club is our literacy training that we provide 8 lessons with Miss Lisa and our preschool families. This year, 35 families participated in that training. We have our monthly family activities like the Harvest Festival, et cetera. Academic parent-teacher teams is something brand new, and I will talk about that more in depth as we go on, but that's also funded through our grant that we have. And then again, teaching pyramid and brain development classes provided by our program specialists, our school psychologists, and our speech pathologists for our families. So Growing Strong Learners is the title of our grant that we have. And last summer, we bid and successfully received the funding through the Central Valley Foundation, now the James B. McClatchy Foundation. Their funding for us has provided the following things. We have a bilingual community outreach assistant, 2 teachers, 1 an enrichment teacher. This is a person who is different than the enrichment teachers at an elementary school. Basically, this enrichment teacher takes the children who are in childcare who do not nap and provides them extended opportunities to learn and engage in fun and creative learning so that they can be out of the napping room, so that the napping children can nap, and the ones that don't like to nap can be, entertained and kept engaged. And then we also have an opportunity for each one of our classrooms to have music once a week with someone you all know very well. Miss Candy Costa retired last year, and she contacted me and asked if she could come and do a little work at preschool. So through this grant, I was actually able to hire her, and she provides 20 minutes a week per classroom of instruction in music for our preschool children. We have a professional learning support teacher, Miss Bang, who is our teacher of the year, and she coaches our teachers in all things preschool, whether it's GLAD, class, ECHRS, behavior, you name it, she will do it. We've had GLAD training. All of the teachers on my campus have been trained in GLAD. We have enrichment programming for stay at school field trips, which includes puppeteering, music, and then our Nature's Critters. On all 3 times a year. We've increased our marketing. We have our teams. We have a relationship with WestEd for data and research, and we have some consultants. So growing strong learners, the purpose of it was, the initiative was to increase the activities and resources to increase family engagement and boost kindergarten readiness. 2 things that I have always been interested in as a kindergarten teacher at an elementary school. So I thought this is a great. 2 important programs. This is an idea that from a lady called Maria Predis, and she is working now with WestEd. And she started way back in 2000, not way back, but in 2009 in Arizona, and started with this concept of how to model, the model for family engagement can thrive when families and teachers work together as genuine partners to maximize student learning inside and outside of school, to be a partner with the teachers and the school to increase students' learning and connectedness to school. And the second one is the guided language, originally developed for EL learners. But it benefits all students through the use of high-level thinking and academic language. And it's also being used at 2 of our elementary schools. And I was looking for ways to tie what we do at preschool into things that are happening at the elementary schools. And this kind of landed in my lap. And we formed a partnership with Orange County Department of Education. And they provided the training for all of my teachers and a lot of resources through a grant. And then our CVS, our McClatchy Foundation, provided the substitutes and et cetera, so that we were able to participate in this. So academic parent-teacher teams is designed to promote both growth in both parents and teachers and dual capacity building. So capacity of the teacher to gain better understanding of the families and their unique circumstances, and parent capacity to provide meaningful, focused support for student learning, all leading to students, children's ability to succeed in foundational skills and kindergarten readiness. And here in these pictures is an the one with the bears is an activity that was sent home for parents to do with their children. And the other one was a warm-up activity that was held during the meeting that we held. So as part of academic parent-teacher teams, teachers lead meetings with parents in their classrooms. Typically, there's 3 meetings, but because of the school closure, we were only able to hold 2, and they're 75-minute meetings. And it's to impart important grade level information that it's gathered from selected skills and assessed at school, and then provide parents with effective home practices that they can do to support their learning at home. And then also a key is to develop meaningful relations. APTT is designed to build the capacity of parents to support their children's learning at home, and the parents learn the importance of the chosen skill and are provided with instruction and why this skill is important and how children will use it every day going forward and how it gets them ready for kindergarten. And then they're provided with activities to take home. It also develops parent connection to school and parent leadership. This showed to develop leadership in the families that participated, in that they were more comfortable coming to their child's teacher and asking for help, or if they had a concern, what could they do differently to support their children, whether it was in behavior or academics or anything a bit more openly. And then the third thing that came out of it, which was really not part of the program at all, was that the parents made connections with other parents. And this is something that we are tasked to do for the state and for SPIDE, is that we're supposed to promote families, getting to know other families and having them have this connectedness together, like to build community within the school and within the greater community itself. And this event, these events, lent themselves to this very well, because parents got in there and realized that, you know, they're more alike than different, and that parents do have good ideas, and they were able to share back and forth and actually witness parents exchanging phone numbers, setting up play dates, and having conversations that they may not have had if they were just picking up and dropping off. So here's some pictures of what the academic parent-teacher team looks like. There's some warm-up activities, and then them playing that subitizing game with the dice. The next thing was GLAD, and it's designed to build the capacity of teachers to support language development in EL children and kindergarten readiness in EL children. And if you were to walk into any of my classrooms or our classrooms, you would see a print-rich environment where there are anchor charts, there is a vocabulary all over the place. There is multiple opportunities for students to interact with other students, with staff members. They're chanting, they're singing, some of them are even reading. So it's just a great way to support all students in their language development. And here are just some of the things that Gingerbread House is actually a book study of the different gingerbread books that are out. And then in Miss Hannah's class, she was doing a farm unit, and on the wall, there was a picture, not a picture, but a drawing of a cow and all the labels of the parts of the cow and the reason why those parts are important. And the children wanted to know about the udders and milking a cow. So Miss Hannah made a cow out of cardboard, udders out of a glove, poured the milk in the glove, and the children practiced milking a cow. So they got a full experience there. So our partnership with WestEd, they are providing the evaluation support for the project, and they're measuring the success of the efforts to promote kindergarten readiness, build the parent capacity, and build parent capacity to support not only ELs and parents, but every part of preschool and everything that we do. The ELs are the focus of this grant, but all of this work helps everyone. So the research team has been collecting and analyzing information related to parents, information via surveys, focus groups, observation, data about attendance, data from their DRDP, data from their entry assessments and their skill assessments that they took over time, their parent attendance at different activities, and all of that is right now being put into a final report. Here are some of the early findings from a report that was given to me in January about some of the work that we had started to do. So you can see that 100% of students learning at home, 95% said it helped prepare their children for kindergarten, and 99% said that meeting them more connected to their child's teacher, all of them were trying to do. In the focus groups, parents, including those supported English learners, report the value of learning resources that they receive home. One of the new resources that were provided is everyone who enrolled in preschool received this app. They signed up for it. I inputted the information, and then they started receiving text messages that give them age-appropriate activities and suggestions to do with their children at home. And they get a reminder every 2 days a week about things that they can do with their families. And you can see the parents are happy to receive that. They like games from their teachers and the activities. For educators, teachers who participated found it of value, increasing family engagement and kindergarten readiness. And there's a quote there from one teacher about why they thought it was important. And with the
Christy, can you hear me?
Yeah,
You're really cutting out. We're only getting like every 10th word.
yes, I can hear you.
Okay, we can't hear you. Did you get that, Christy? Stop sharing your screen.
Let me see what's going on.
Why
I'm
don't
not
you
sure
stop
what's,
sharing your screen and see if that helps the audio.
okay.
Okay. And then Adam's going to share from here, so you don't need to share. And,
Okay.
And maybe if you just have your audio,
Okay.
that will help. Okay. So we're on the upcoming steps slide. Is that the right place?
Okay, like my video. Right, the one that says, yeah, that's it.
Okay.
So we're doing a rigorous evaluation of the project's effect on student readiness. Is it better now?
Yes.
Much better.
Okay, perfect. All right, so when I say rigorous, I'm saying Westat, I've given Westat access to our DRDPs for an entire year. So that means starting last spring to now, we've provided them the data of where our children are at. And they're in the process of looking at their attendance, because we've provided attendance as well, looking at whether, kids coming to school more often, is it having an effect? Children who are absent, did it have an effect? So those are the kinds of things that they're looking at. We're also looking at the parents' side of it and the evaluation of the project's effects on their perspectives about practices related to supporting kindergarten readiness at school. And then, of course, looking at what the teachers think about what the work is about. So I think, unless I lost a page of my report. Oh, Adam, can you click one more slide forward?
Got it.
There you go. So going forward into next year, whatever next year looks like, these are the things that we foresee continuing to work on with our funding through the James B. McClatchy Foundation. Continue in our academic parent teacher team, continue to increase our marketing. We'll continue our kindergarten readiness work and refine our definition of what kindergarten readiness is. And then new going forward is forging a relationship with the district kindergarten and TK teachers to get a better understanding of what all of our programmings are about and what does readiness really mean? What does it mean to preschool teachers? What does it mean to TK and kindergarten teachers? How can we come to a common understanding so that we're providing our elementary schools with a good product when we send them on their way? We will continue our PLST model and coaching We'll continue our collaboration with our grant funder and for the 3 other districts that we work with in that grant funding. We will continue with professional development, and we are beginning on a new adventure as well. We have a lot on our plate, but we're going to try something new. And through California Ed Partners, we will begin to do some work with Ruben and the district and the Ed Partners in math. And then Adam, if you would click to the last slide. And I prepared a short video about preschool. And I just want to say we're truly a family, one for all for one, me for them for me, and us for our friends and family at preschool. So thank you very much. And when the video is over, I'll be happy to answer some questions.
If you ever find yourself stuck in the middle of the sea, I'll sail the world to find you. If you ever find yourself lost in the dark and you can't see, I'll be the light to guide you. Find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah. If you're tossing and you're turning and you just can't fall asleep, I'll sing a song beside you. And if you ever forget how much you really mean to me, every day I will remind you. Oh, find out what we're made of when we are called to help our friends in need. You can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh, yeah, yeah. You'll always have my shoulder when you cry. I'll never let go, never say goodbye. You know you can count on me like 1, 2, 3, I'll be there. And I know when I need it, I can count on you like 4, 3, 2, and you'll be there. 'Cause that's what friends are supposed to do, oh yeah. Ooh, ooh. You can count on me 'cause I can count on you.
That should be our preschool commercial.
It is so cute.
That was great.
So, again, I'd just like to thank you for your continued support, and I hope you all have a good evening. If you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Thank you. Any questions?
Thank you, Christy. You made me miss the school.
I know, I miss it too, horribly. Y'all have a good evening now. Take care.
Thank you.
You too,
night.
Christy.
You too.
That was a great video. That should definitely be on our website somewhere. Okay, moving along. Item 6C, bilingual community outreach assistant update with Cindy Lyon, Director of State and Federal Programs.
Good evening, everyone. I'm just going to pull my screen share up here. Okay, we good?
Good.
Okay. Well, good evening. And I have the pleasure of introducing to you some of the hardest working, I feel, most lovely people that we have in our Robles School District. This is the team of community outreach assistants that support us in so many different ways that what we've had to do here is we've each had them each take a slide and talk about one component of what they do. So with that being said, I'm going to introduce for you, oh, my slide's not advancing. Hold on a second here. There we go. We have, when we look at all of the community outreach assistants we have for the district, we have 8 individuals that work for us. 5 of them are Spanish-speaking community outreach assistants that work either at one single school or at multiple schools, depending on the numbers of English learners at those school sites. This is always kind of a tricky thing because we have some school sites that the numbers are going up and down, where, you know, sometimes they get stretched a little thin. But we also have times too where even a school site can have a small number, but the need of that number of students is quite high. So, and we also have a Russian outreach speaking. Victoria Polikova is our Russian out speaking. She works throughout the district, as well as Chu Vang, who's our Hmong outreach assistant. And then, as Christy mentioned, we include Janet in our, anytime we have meetings, so that she's welcome to be part of this team. She keeps herself very busy, so we don't get to see a lot of her, but it's great to have her as an addition and to know that we have that support down at the preschool as well. So with that being said, we're going to move forward, and each community outreach assistant is going to speak a little bit and tell you a little bit about something that they do. Okay.
Hello, good afternoon. And my name is Karina Mondragon. I'm going to talk about how we support the district in many different ways, such as one-on-one student support, whether that be during class or after school as well. When it comes to our attention that a student may need extra help, we are there to support those students, whether it be in English or also in Spanish. We have after-school bilingual support as well, like I said before. We also help out with parent events, translations, whether that be oral or in written form, such as official school documents, homework for students, and our school newsletters as well. And our next page. And our other roles that we also help out in school is our role of interpretation, and that is in IEPs, IEP meetings, SST meetings. We also assist in parent conferences and specialist student evaluations. We help whether that be input with the student and that we are speaking about is one of our students. We take notes from teachers also to help translate. We also help out in ELAC and DLAC meetings, letting families know about our meetings beforehand and assisting the specialist at hand in translating and answering questions during the meeting, after the meeting. We also help out in community engagement programs, whether that be the farmers market in the mornings, or we also are involved in the parent walking clubs. We go out and talk to the parents. We answer questions. We're there to ask them how they are, if they're happy with the programs that we are doing, if they need help with their students, a little extra help. And we also help out at our school sites after hours for whether that be school events, meetings, or the after-school programs also with the tutoring. And we also are included in the McKinney-Vento program, and Maggie will assist with that. Thank you and have a good night.
Hello, this is Lakeisha Brown. I am the Multicultural Community Outreach Assistant. Basically, what I do is I try to help the district provide connections with our African American families and students. So I work basically to try to bridge the gap between home and school. What we found that many of the African American families didn't feel maybe heard. And so what I do half the time is to kind of help them feel welcome. A good chunk of my time is letting them know that they're heard and just kind of being an advocate for them between the school system. Many of them don't know how to navigate that, but they give me a call and we work on that together. We just try to provide a positive experience for the African American families in the district, as well as I help support the teachers with their students and their African American students as well. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maggie Gomez, and I work the McKinney-Vento program that we have at the district. And this is a subtitle 7-B of the McKinney-Vento Homeless Assistance Act, authorizes that the Federal Education for Homeless Children and Youth program, and it is the primary piece of federal legislation related to the education of children and youth experiencing homelessness. One of the jobs as community outreach in McKinney-Vento that I do is to connect with families via home visits, phone calls, etc. Also provide community resources to families and also make referrals. Coordinates a supply closet and distributes hygiene kits, bus passes, clothes, shoes, sleeping bags, whatever our homeless families are in need of. Also assists with the coordination of the turkey drive and holiday market, as well as other activities that happen around the district. Update homeless students' demographic information and illuminate, and foster long-term relationship with other community organizations like St. Clair Church, United Way, and whichever we are working with as far as organization. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Maria Reyes, and we have after-school academic support. We have families that cannot help their students with their homework because they don't know how to read English. We also help families and the students by explaining what their homework assignments are. We also help the students to complete their work. We help students from kindergarten all the way through 6th grade. And now I have parents that come to me as well who are going to school and need help understanding their own work. And also now that we're doing distance learning, when they have a problem or they don't understand something, they'll send me like a screenshot and then I'll just get back to them and help them with their work. Thank you.
Sorry, I needed to turn my mic back on. I'm going to speak on behalf of Victoria. Victoria is our Russian and Ukrainian family support for the district. And though this is the smaller percentage of students in the Robla district, it's still the 4th largest percent of non-English speakers in Robla. And one of the things that's unique about this group is that many of them are immigrant with no English experience when they first come to the district. So like some of our other students that come in, we have our percentage of newcomers that come from all over many countries. We have 20 different languages in the district, but it's much smaller portions except for with our Spanish speaking. And with our Russian families, they're coming in and they have no experience with not only the school system, they don't understand how to operate in the community itself as well. They don't have as large of a community support in this area. And so Victoria is really that access point for them, for not only in school, but also in the community. A fine example of some of the really beautiful work that she's doing right now is we have a family that's brand new, and nobody in the family speaks English at all. And she literally spent 5 hours on one phone call trying to support this family to get onto, first of all, to get a Chromebook so the students can get online, and also then just how to operate that Chromebook, because they have never had a computer, so they didn't even know how to operate the Chromebook, just the basics of turning it on, let alone trying to navigate getting into Google Classroom or anything like that. And so, they're not only non-English speaking families, but there are also families that are poor families sometimes, and families in need in other situations as well. And sometimes they're families that are transient. They're kind of moving a little bit because they've come here and they're living somewhere temporarily, but they may be moving, into a different area of Sacramento. And so, she does a really great job of trying to help track, for example, with our distance learning right now. We've got a couple of families we're trying to track down. They had talked about going back to the Ukraine, and we're trying to figure out if they actually went back or if they're somewhere still within the community. So she does a lot of that work and trying to really help this population for us.
Good evening. My name is Julian. I'm among BCOA for the 5 schools in the district. I would like to share a video that I took a year ago. And we haven't had this student was a talk at all to nobody, to a teacher, to myself. I've been working with him since he was a TK. And he didn't say anything. He was really shy, and they could have it as I talk to anybody, even myself. I used it was a private language. He didn't say anything. And so it was April 30th, 2019, it was a year ago. And he finally was read a book to me. I don't know, it was surprised me. And I asked him, can I take a video of you? He said, okay. So I said, okay, hold on, let me call your dad first before I took the video. And I called the dad. Dad said, oh, yeah, it's okay. So I took the video of him and he's reading, and I want to share, after I talked, I want to add him to play the video. And it was make me really happy after it was a talk. And now he's in the 1st grade, and every time I went to pick him up, he's still on my schedule, I pick him up, and he seemed really happy. And every day I work with him was 30 minutes a week. And he seemed really happy when I pick him up. And he's reading out loud, and he's so happy with me. And I'm enjoying to work with him, and I love to work with him. Thank you.
Thank you.
You can play the video. We can't hear Ms. Line.
Do you have a copy of it, Adam?
I have that on my phone. If you guys can't hear the audio, I can play it. You guys can see. You can like it.
Cindy, I'm not sure if you turned on the audio sharing when you shared your screen. You need to stop sharing and then hit share screen again, and there's 2 check boxes down at the bottom.
Did you get that, Cindy?
Okay, now I can ask you the question. I'm sorry, I could hear it loud and clear here. What do I need to do, Adam?
Stop sharing, and then go back to share screen, and at the bottom of the screen, there should be 2 check boxes, one dealing with video and one dealing with audio.
Stop sharing. And at the bottom of my screen, I just see screen share.
Yeah, so click the screen share, and then down at the bottom of the window that pops up, there should be 2 check boxes.
Share computer sound, okay. Okay, and optimize screen sharing for video clip?
Yes.
Okay, and I will back it up because he's adorable. Okay, give me 1 second. And we will start it from the beginning.
Yeah.
I like to tap down. I like to tap to the music. Sam, pin, drop, Sam and pen read. Sam and pen 1.
Yeah.
Sam and pen see it.
Good.
We go to the store.
Good job.
We go.
Con gì con tờ luôn.
We go to the
No Miss Chowdhury. Bakery.
bakery. We go to the park.
Park.
We go home.
Next one. Okay. Read that one. Morning.
That is black.
No, it's in black. Yeah, back.
Black.
Read that one.
He was sad.
Yeah.
The sleep.
Sat.
Sat on the bed. She was tired. Hot. She was
Sick.
sick.
The mullet.
That is back. She can
Sip.
sit and
Nap.
nap. It
Tip.
tip
Can sound out. App.
tap on my
The answer is 9,600,000
A deck.
duck. We are in. He was mad. We
sit with my little cat. He was.
Yes, ma. Yes.
He is with my little cat.
Good. All right, that's all I got. Thank you. Anyone have a question or?
That was fabulous too. Thank you so much for showing that.
Thank you. As you guys have a good night.
Good
Okay,
night.
bye-bye.
Good evening, everyone. To continue education. To continue education, we attend the family and community engagement workshops to continue our education to support the students and community at the Department of Sacramento County Office of Education. We learn strategies to increase student achievement and support the engagement of the community. For example, involving the parents in the students' education so the students can improve their academic performance. Attending, for example, parents, teachers conferences, multicultural events, and math reading activities with parents and students. Encourage parents to attend each of the child's meetings. We also attend CABE conferences to gain knowledge about bilingual education. I think, thank you.
Okay. So I work as a BCOA for Robla Preschool. And when we were talking in our meeting last week, I was letting Cindy know I'm basically a jack of all trades. I do a little bit of everything. I'll translate at IEP meetings, parent conferences, and even now with the pandemic that's happening, teachers sometimes call on me to help translate instructions for the Google Classroom or different things like that. Before all this happened, I did have monthly parent group meetings. They're called Second Cup of Coffee. They're very casual, and I really got to bond with a lot of the parents, and they got to know my face and trust me, and so I don't know, that was really nice. And I've also been assisting WestEd. They're the ones who are doing the academic parent-teacher teams. I help them connect with parents when they're trying to do surveys, data collection. So I run a lot of spreadsheets and ask questions. Yeah. So then I connect parents with messages from teachers. I'll get some requests sometimes. And then I'll also be working on social media on behalf of Robla Preschool. So I'm on Facebook and on Instagram, talking to parents. And we've recently started, it's School Spirit Fridays, where we have a different theme every Friday, and I ask people to participate. Parents will post photos of their kids. We had Garden Day and we've had Superhero Day, so that was really fun. And then I also create flyers for events in English and Spanish. So there's a lot of things that go on. That's all for me. Thank you.
Was that the end?
Looks like Cindy disconnected.
Okay.
So she might have hit stop sharing and hit left the meeting back.
Okay.
Are there any questions? I mean, I'd be happy to get the questions to them if there are any questions.
I don't have a question, but I'd just like to say I really appreciate and know what a wonderful job they are. And I think I can speak for the board on how hard we have worked to get that community outreach into the district. And, you know, as I was thinking that they are the bridge we were looking for, it's when Lakeisha was giving her presentation, I looked over and I thought I saw a bridge, but I think it was supposed to be some power lines for communication. Anyway, I really do appreciate all you do. I see you as I am around the campuses, and I know you're always engaged and busy, but you really are the connection, the connecting piece, the bridge to the community. And I just can't tell you how much that I appreciate it, and I think I can speak for the board on that too. Thank you.
I actually do have a question. Just in terms of the work that they do and whatnot, what percentage of their job is more the after school academic stuff, and what percentage is specifically dealing with family and community outreach, translation, and all of that?
I can answer that for you.
Yeah.
We start like when the school starts. So we do groups with students. We help the students throughout the day until 2:30. And then after school is over, then that's when we have the support for students to help them with their homework, and the parents too.
Okay.
But throughout the day we do, for example, I do groups. I work for Bell, and I also work for Maine. So I have groups all the way since 8 in the morning all the way through 2:30. And then after school, that's when I do I help the students and parents with their homework.
Okay, I guess what I'm trying to get an idea of is how much of it is academic support and how much of the job is community outreach?
Hi, for me, I think it's a little different because I'm not bilingual. So a good chunk of my day is community outreach. I meet with parents if they need to during the day. I do see students throughout the day, but my primary concern would be community outreach with the parents. So okay. Mine is a little bit different than theirs.
I guess the reason why I'm asking is one of the most important things that that as we see as a board, as we started to talk about, and the idea of these positions was, you know, we realized that a lot of times we're dealing with communities who don't always feel comfortable engaging with, whether it's the teachers or the principals or the board or anything like that. And like I said, to be primarily that bridge to help people feel comfortable, to help empower families to be engaged and get engaged in the process and get engaged with the district. And I'm just trying to gauge how much of that is a function of what you do and how much of it is the direct academic support for students is. So that was actually, that last comment was actually very helpful.
Thank you. I do think it's both. To put a percentage on it, I'm not quite sure, but I definitely feel that we try to balance both.
Okay.
Ms. Reyes, the after school homework you help with the kids, are you working in conjunction with the START programs, or are you separate with them?
I'm separate.
Because I see them making sure the kids are doing homework over there too. So okay.
Yeah, but I'm also helping parents because they're going through school now, so they have also questions about their homework. So now it's the students and their parents coming to me after school, but it's a lot of work that we do.
I appreciate it. We appreciate it. But this might be a little positive thing, that these parents are coming to you asking for some help where they may not have before the situation we're in right now. Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments?
Mr. Dalus, can I ask?
Yes.
I can answer all your questions, but I can say something. Usually we do have Fridays for the parents to communicate with parents and answer most of our emails to communicate parents, teachers, and do our translations on Fridays. But most of the like Monday, Tuesday during the week, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, we do work with all the students from in the morning until 2:30. After that, we support the students with their homework. And during those days, we do that. But on Fridays, we do have time to communicate with parents, do translations, and do anything we need to do.
Okay. Thank you. That's actually very helpful.
Thank you.
Cindy,
Hi,
did you want to say anything at the end here?
No, I just wanted to say that I can't say enough about this group of individuals. I mean, they really are part of the heart of ROBLA. When we say ROBLA is a family, they are what helped make ROBLA a family. I mean, they just are so hardworking, and we just appreciate them.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question for Mr. Reyes. And you talked earlier about the number of Chromebooks and things that we give out, and I apologize if I missed this. What percentage did that represent of our students?
We keep a spreadsheet on, we know exactly who does not have a Chromebook. And it is each principal's job to follow up with that family to see is it they don't have one because they didn't need one, or what is happening. So our goal is to get to 100%. And we are there at I think 3 of the schools, and we're getting there with the other schools. So it was 1,300 devices, but remember, we're giving 1 per family. If they have 2 children, 2. If they have 3 children. So our goal is 100%.
Okay, yeah, that's what I was asking. Okay, thank you. Any other questions, comments before we move on? Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Moving right along to item 6D, excuse me. First reading of revised policies, regulations, and/or exhibits. Mr. Reyes?
Yes, these are all recommended changes, just because of changes in statute recommended by our contract with CSBA. So the board this is our introduction to these. Of course, if you have any questions over the next month, you're welcome to contact us, and we're happy to answer those questions, and then they will come for approval at the next meeting.
Thank you. Any questions before we move on? Okay, moving on to the consent agenda. For those of you at home, a single motion passed by the board to approve the consent agenda will authorize the appropriate action to be taken on each item listed below. Any board member may request that an item be removed from the consent agenda to be discussed and voted upon separately. I'll entertain a motion to, sorry.
Yep.
Approve the minutes.
Second.
Yes, okay. Yeah, okay, it's been, it was a motion to approve the minutes, and it's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Second, I was looking for the motion, but, the wording, but it wasn't in here, so I'll do them both identical. So is there a motion to approve and ratify the warrant reports?
So move. Second.
It's been moved in second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. So, sorry about that. I was looking for the actual terminology of the whole action there. Anyway, moving on to action items, section 7. 7A. And I have practiced this, so I'm going to try to get this right. 7A, amend the medical leave in absence of Ms. Casual Polly Lee Burt as paid sick leave, November 25, 2019 through December 19, 2019, and partial paid substitute differential leave, December 20, 2019 through February 28, 2020. Is there a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments, questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item B, amend the unpaid personal leave of absence for Ms. Kajal Polly Lee Burt as unpaid personnel leave from March 2nd, 2020 through April 3rd, 2020. Is there a motion?
So moved.
It's been moved
Second.
and second. Are there any comments? All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8C, adopt board resolution dismissal of certain certificated probationary employees for 2020 and 2021 school year. I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments?
Yes, I would like to comment on this. This is an unfortunate aspect of where we currently are with the pandemic and the impact that it's having on the California state budget, and then, of course, in turn, the impact that it will inevitably have on school budgets. This is something we are doing as a cautionary measure in preparation for what could be the budget information that we should get before very long. It is our hope that we will be able to receive enough money from the state to keep our current staffing level. And if that is the case, then we can rescind this with our employees as soon as we are able to do that. And that, of course, is our hope.
And I just want to add the comment that, every year we do this, and it seems like a regular kind of motion. It is not. This is not something that we do lightly. And it is, even though we do carry on these motions, it's something that we all take very, very seriously. Are there any comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8D, adopt board resolution reassignment or release of administrative and/or management personnel for the 2020-2021 school year.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments? None. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Moving on to item 8E. Approve Sacramento Consortium Teacher Induction MOU for 2020-2021 school year. Is there a motion?
So move.
It's been moved
Second.
and second. Any comments?
Yes, this is, just so everyone understands, this is an annual MOU with all of the districts in our region to support the teacher induction process. This is, of course, the required aspect of the work that happens when teachers first receive their credential. They must then go through 2 years of induction to clear their credential. And we provide great supports here in Robla, but we gain a great deal of resources by being part of this consortium to make sure that our teachers meet all of their requirements to clear their credentials.
Thank you. Any other comments? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Oppose? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. Item 8F, master service agreements for special education. This is to approve the master service agreements for the following non-public schools, MPS, and non-public agencies. And I'm not going to read all that. I will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any comments?
These are agreements that we must enter into annually to provide the appropriate services as outlined in any individual child's IEP. I guess one of the things I would say this year is that I did have a conversation today with our director of special services, Sandy Graham, and we did talk about how these agreements may have to change if we continue with distance education. Distance learning has required them to change, and the services were generally provided in the school setting, those types of things. And obviously those need to change. And I just want to be sure that the board is aware that we work with each individual company to make sure that if we need to change the delivery of the service in a way under the current circumstances, that we are doing that. And they seem, as Ms. Graham said to me today, the companies are very willing to work with us to make sure that if we need to change how it's done under these circumstances, that's indeed what we are doing to make sure we are still meeting the needs of these children.
Any other comments or questions? Okay, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carries unanimously. That is the last of the action items. We will move on to section 9, board member requests for future agenda items, starting with trustee DeLuce.
Nothing?
Okay, trustee Boyd?
I've got a request, but it's not for future agenda. I don't suppose Mark can turn the camera to the back of the room. It's probably too much, but there's a picture on the wall, and I know they're getting ready to demolish this. It's of a autor, a conquistador. I don't remember exactly what it was. It's a Spanish gentleman. And the young lady that painted that, I know it wouldn't be appropriate to buy it from her, but I'd like to offer $100 to her art career if I could have that picture and sign from her when it does come off the wall.
Nice.
Very nice.
Well, let me first assure the board and the rest of our community that, that none of this artwork will be demolished along with the building.
I know the artwork wasn't going to be demolished. I didn't mean to
We will
imply that at all.
absolutely save it from any wrecking ball. And the plan, of course, would be to return it to the artists. But we can communicate that with, we can pass on that word. I will talk to that art teacher and we will share that information and we'll get back to you, Mr. Boyd.
Thank you, Ms. Reyes.
Very nice. Trustee Howard? Trustee Cardona?
Nothing.
And I have nothing. With that, this meeting is adjourned.
See you guys later.
Good night,
Thank you for
everybody.
everyone
Thank
attending.
you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.